and welcome to Kick-Ass Kindness. I am not the face you generally see, opening up the interviews that Alun Jones has been doing. However, Alun asked me, I'm Tamara Younker, Alun asked me, because I was the first person that he interviewed in his Kick-Ass Kindness series, he asked if I would interview him as the final person in the series, and I am honored. I think this is going to be really fun, and it's been several months. I can't remember exactly when you started all of this, but it had such a organic energy about it. I remember that it was something that just kind of popped for you, and you said yes, and then it just, you were kind of like playing with the energy as it led you, and you were willing to lean in and create something that I think has been a real inspiration for people. So, hi.
Thank you, Tamara. And it's funny you should say it's an honor, because it is for me as well. You were the conversations that we'd had about kindness, and you were the first person that I spoke to about it. You went, yeah, hell, go and do it, because the energy was so there. So, which is why you were the first interview. And I think it was in February that I started it, and the idea was born in our conversation, and then I think we actually did the interview the same day or something.
We did.
Yeah. And because the idea kind of came to me while I was doing some ironing, and literally it was 2 days. It was 2 days from me kind of pulling all that together and then talking to you, and then you going, yeah, go do it. And then everybody that I asked said yes. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And I feel what I can sense is that this has been a real journey. You have you interviewed, I believe, 17 people as part of this. And I would love to, you kind of got into it there just a little bit, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about what was the inspiration? Was there a moment? Was there something that just really struck you? Like what was the invitation that you said yes to?
So, when it kind of came back, what I'd been asking was kindness. You and I, when we had our radio show together, the Playground of Possibilities, had talked a lot about judgment and where kindness prevails, and that for me has been a theme for the last, since I've known you, 2, 3 years, 4 years, possibly 4 years, I think. Yeah, wow. And so I was actually doing my ironing, and I was asking this question. Okay, so what else? Because everyone's doing stuff, and I wanted to create something that for me was not just a run-of-the-mill creation. And so I was asking the question, what can I create that's never existed before that will ignite and invite more kindness into the world? And I just kept asking as I was doing my ironing, and just kind of like, I'm like, okay, so what do I, and then just the next question came, what do I know about kindness? All that, and then it was like, bing, what do other people know about kindness that they're willing to share, that when you start to ask the questions, you can really tap into stuff that you didn't even realize you knew about kindness.
Yeah.
And then what tools can we kind of share with people so that they can be more kind to themselves? Because I get that in this world, kindness for ourselves is not a valuable product.
It's not much of an. It's not. We're not invited there much, are we? We're. What's more common is judgment and criticism.
Self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice yourself is for better for everyone else. Put yourself last, and all of this kind of stuff. And I just look at that, and I have to say that's always felt wonky for me. And so when I asked the question, so what would invite people to more kindness for themselves in their life? And if people had more kindness for themselves in their life, what could that create in the world? If people weren't constantly being mean to themselves, because what invitation is that to other people when you're being mean to you? It's just an open invitation to everyone else to go, oh, they're really mean to themselves, I'll do that too. There's no self-respect there. There's no self-appreciation. And then other people are going to pick up on that energy, whether they're totally aware of it or not.
Not very seductive, is it?
It's not. So let's talk about that in and of itself. How seductive is somebody who is constantly putting themselves down, judging themselves, looking for validation, never kind of being creating the stuff that they would like, having the life that they would love to live, really having a juicy, enjoyable life. Not having any of that how seductive is that for you to go, hey, I really want to jump into bed with that person? That, for me, everything in my body just kind of goes, run away. Who wants to have that kind of intimate relationship with someone who doesn't have kindness for themselves? Because what relationship is that going to turn into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember having a pride myself in my younger years, having a pride because no one could judge me more harshly than I did myself. And there was pride in that.
Yeah.
So when you interviewed me all those months ago, that was one of the things you asked me, is like, kind of like, what does kindness mean to you? Or what do you know about kindness? And I remember sharing with you that it had been a journey for the last about 5 years now, is when it really popped onto my radar. And I started to recognize maybe this like pride in knowing that nobody could judge me more harshly than I judge myself. Maybe that wasn't really how I wanted to live. And that was really when the adventure became, and I started to notice this little thing, this little tender shoot of kindness. And I was like, oh, what is that? And maybe I want to cultivate that and get to know it better. And so it's something that I continue to explore. And so I love that you have brought this to the forefront of people's lives. Yeah. You know, it might have been like me, not even on my radar prior to 5 years ago at all. Like what contribution could kindness be to me? So you've created this entire Kick-Ass Kindness series that's an invitation for people to look at, hey, what do I know about kindness? Where am I being kind? Where could I be more kind? And what have I defined kindness is that it isn't? And what have I misidentified kindness as, that it's more than that? Or, I mean, there's all these things that I imagine you've been exploring for the last several months. Yeah. And I'm wondering, is there anything in particular, like as you did, because everybody I'm sure was vastly, we're unique, vastly different individuals. So I'm imagining, and I watched some of them. I didn't watch all of them, but I did watch some of them. I'm wondering, as you were interviewing people, if there were any one or two couple of things maybe that really popped that made you go, oh, wow.
Do you know, it's funny, one of the things, there were some really, really kind people that I interviewed who were just so freaking generous. And, and I would include you in that, most definitely. Generous with their time, generous with their resources, generous in terms of how they chose to share this out. And that kind of did blow me away. It's like, because I picked people who popped. And I just kept asking the question, who are the people that this series would like me to interview? And, if you watch the series, you can really see the people who just have that genuine kindness for themselves, who are really choosing it. So that, in a sense, for me was, I'm not sure if this is answering your question, but, kindness for me, out of all of that, what really was wowing me was, wow, when I trust my awareness, when I trust what kind of comes into my head and I ask the question, that's kindness.
Yeah.
And we don't acknowledge that as kindness. It's every time we doubt ourselves or negate our knowing, or negate the kind of the awareness we get, it's really unkind, not just to us, but these awesome people that I interviewed, giving them the space to share their invite with the world. That was kind of the really great thing for me. And what blew me away was the number of people who said, thank you so much for creating this. And I'm kind of going, because it's like, it's simple. I'm just kind of asking questions and talking to people. And it was that was kind of what blew me away, was the acknowledgement that actually I have this capacity to draw people out, to talk to people, to engage with them. And I've known that. But when you see people that I really admire saying to me, thank you for doing that, I'm so grateful, you're really good at it, it was a joy to play, blah, blah, blah. It was pretty great. But one of the things that really popped for me was one of the tools that Keisha Clark, who I interviewed on this, and I adore Keisha, and I've not spoken to her for ages, so I must touch base, but she said, what is kindness for me in this 10 seconds? And I love that tool. And there are so many of these kind of awesome things given, because kindness will change. And, you know, and when we're in that intensity of having been unkind or judging ourselves or whatever other crappy thing we've had going on, when you ask that question, you know, and I do use that tool. It's like, what is kindness for me in this 10 seconds? And it could be being a grouch. That could be the kindest space I could be in, where I wake up and I kind of go to, and I'll say to my partner, you know, hey, look, I'm not in a great space, you know, so just so you know. And I'm, you know, that for me in that 10 seconds was kindness, because I didn't make myself wrong for being it. So, yeah, that, so many kind of delicious moments from that. And I guess the biggest thing for me is really only something that's come out this week, which we were talking about earlier, which is the willingness to make the demand of ourselves and to be demanding is one of the greatest kindnesses we can be. When we're unwilling to make the demand of ourselves to be the kindness for ourselves in the world, we're unwilling to make the demand of ourselves to stop judging ourselves, when we're unwilling to make the demand of ourselves to stop making judgment real and relevant, it's such an unkindness. So, you know, we talk about in this reality or this world, however you want to describe it, being demanding is often seen as wrong and unkind and rude and blah, blah, blah. And I think it depends on how it's done. If you're trying to control people, it's not great. If you're willing to make the demand of you, actually, that can be, I mean, if you look at the universe or the earth itself, right? When the earth knows that there are plates that move around that really need moving, and that's going to cause a whole load of crap, it doesn't say, oh no, I mustn't upset anybody. It makes a demand of itself to move those plates to the space where, even if it causes earthquakes and tsunamis and God knows what else, it does it with no point of view. And that, I get, is a really great kindness. And if we're all in that space of kindness, you know, like the tsunami that hit kind of Southeast Asia, I think, you know, how many birds and animals actually got killed from it? Very few, because they were willing to have the kindness of their awareness and trust it. So, bit of a long kind of blurb.
No, I love that. I love that. That's exactly what I was hoping to tease out of you. So many things that you said in there, and the first that I recall is that, you know, trusting ourselves is a kindness.
Yeah.
Recognizing that kindness is fluid. I love Keisha's question, you know, in this moment, what is kindness right now?
Yeah.
Like, not having a static version of what kindness is, but really being in the inquiry of, like, in this moment that's been different than any other moment that's ever existed, what's kindness right now?
Yeah.
What would be kind to me right now? I love that. And then this piece about making a demand. What I was perceiving underneath that, or within all of that, is sort of what I might, dare I say, the greatest kindness is to take full responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah.
As potent creators. Is that perhaps the greatest kindness, to stop playing pretend?
Yeah.
I'm less, I'm inferior, I'm pathetic, I'm not enough, I'm inadequate, blah, 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 blah. What you're talking about when you were saying that whole thing about making the demand, what I really sense is this: I'm willing to be that sovereign in my life. Like, that's the greatest kindness that perhaps I could do is forget all of the silliness and the bullshit I've been telling myself, the stories and the yada yada, and just claim it.
Yeah.
Claim it.
It really is that total acknowledgement of you and it's not about worthiness, because it kind of goes beyond that. It is beyond that. It's just acknowledging you, as you say, as this kind of sovereign being of your reality that doesn't make anyone less. And I'm willing to, and I'm going to use a phrase that I remember you saying once that I just stuck with me, that I really love, is like, I'm going to have my party, and I'm going to have my party of kindness, and you can come and play in this kind of party of kindness, or you can go and play somewhere else. It's okay. I have no point of view about it. I'm going to have my party of kindness anyway. I'm going to have fun. And when I'm willing to make the demand of me to be and do whatever it takes, and be willing for people to be pissed off at me if I'm not choosing to get drawn into their trauma and drama. And yeah, that just doesn't work for me anymore. When I sense people pulling me in, it's like, okay, that's cool. So what kindness can I be here? And sometimes that is pushing back and saying to them, okay, do you know what? I'm not playing when you're in this space. You come back to me when you're ready. And all the people that I have actually been that with in the last I would say 2 to 3 weeks, every single one of them has come back and said, thank you, that's exactly what I required to hear, rather than this pussyfooting around of, oh, that's, yeah, it's not always a kindness. Sometimes, that's why I called it kick-ass kindness, because the energy sometimes is no, and it is intensity, and it is just delivering something to somebody that would be the greatest kindness for them. So,
yeah. No more walking on eggshells in order to avoid upset.
Well, no, because that's also being a superior asshole, because I'm looking at that and I'm then deciding, if I say this, they're going to be upset with it. Where's the choice? Where's the question? Where's the allowance of what they're willing to choose? And it's possible they could choose to be upset by it. And that's their story. If I'm coming from the space of what will be the greatest kindness, and really embodying that energy and trusting my knowing and not second guessing, and being willing to get it wrong, right? Because we do, it's like, and not that there is a right or wrong, but willing to kind of go, oops, perhaps that wasn't my best choice. Cool. Now what else can I choose?
Next.
Yeah. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And, another one of the tools that I really love that we used to use, and you know what's coming, is we used it all the time on the show, was universe, show me. Universe, show me what kindness is for me in this 10 seconds. Universe, show me what kindness I can be for me today. Universe, show me what greater kindness, or what kindness, not even greater kindness because of the judgment there, what kindness can I be in the world today that's never existed before? And that's how this series was born, was that's never existed before.
Oh, beautiful. And I love that you were inspired to share something and you said yes.
Yes.
Just said yes. You didn't hem and haw about it. You didn't, get up all into a mental, game with yourself. You just said yes. And I wonder how many people have been inspired by what you shared in these interviews. And now I'm curious if there's something about this whole journey. There's the interviews, but then there's just your life that occurred in between the interviews. Because when we say yes to something, it's working on us.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's anything from this journey that inspired you, and if there's anything that will be born from the new inspiration.
Wow. Do you know what inspired me with this? Do you know what? One of the greatest things that's inspired me about this is I look at what really occurred to me was, do you know what? I can create quickly. It was a real invitation to me to acknowledge what my capacities were. I can talk to people. I can draw people out. I really acknowledge it. I can create like that really quickly. Everything came together really quickly. It wasn't difficult for me, and every time I asked a question, the resources were there, or something was there, or it worked out differently. And so, yeah, what really inspires me, there were so many things, but, the willingness to ask for what I require, and my willingness to receive it, my willingness to look at where there's a funky energy and acknowledge it, not make anyone wrong for what's going on. It's like, wow, okay, interesting choice. And as for what's next, well, no, I guess the inspiration for me is to look at what else I would like to create in the world and know that if I get the awareness that it can be created, then I can create it. Wow. So I'll say that again because I'm not even sure I got that. So when I get the awareness that there's something pops into my awareness that can be created, I can create it, or at least be a part of the creation of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had the awareness of what could be created. So I invite everyone who's watching this is to look at that and go, so what are you aware of that can be created? That because you have that awareness, you have the capacity to do it if you just trusted yourself and were kind enough to make the demand of you to be the energy of what is required, no matter what it takes.
Yeah, that you're capable.
Yeah, that you are capable. You are beyond capable. You are more capable than you ever dared dream, than anybody else would ever allow you to be. Are you really going to make them greater than you in your awareness of what you're capable
of? Wow. Everything you just said, that little synopsis right there, to me, is all the kindness you discovered in this adventure for yourself.
Yeah. It has been an interesting fun, intense, uncomfortable kind of space, and the willingness just to put myself out there no matter what.
Yeah.
And as I said, I have been blown away by the kindness and the caring of people who've really contributed, and I am grateful to each and every one of them, no matter how it showed up, for what they did contribute, because it was such a contribution to me. And I know that these interviews have contributed to people, because I've had emails from people telling me how much they've actually helped them be kinder to themselves. And that's all I wanted. Even just one person emailed me and said, or didn't even email me, but got something out of it. It's that purpose. And more than one person did. And I'm sure I will, because they're still there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your willingness to say yes, the vulnerability with which you approach the whole project, sharing with us right now everything that you received from the project, allowing yourself to be changed and transformed, noticing where you can be more kind to you and how much you're capable of, Alun. Wow. I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for kind of giving that synopsis back, because because I've not actually sat down and pulled that together for myself and looked at it. So I am grateful. I'm grateful that I get to end the series with you, as it were. And what else is possible? What else is possible with kindness? What other kindness creations are out there waiting to be created by me or someone else that have never existed before?
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Infinite possibility. Isn't it just a juicy, delicious place to play? How does it get any better? So I know that this is something that is continuing to be available to people, your Kick-Ass Kindness series, and where can they go if this is the first one they've seen? Right. And if they're inspired to go and listen to more of the interviews that you did, where can they go find them?
They can find them there's a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Kick-Ass Kindness, and also on YouTube, my username on YouTube is Alun37. I think there is a playlist there with all of them on, and also they're on my website, which is alun-jones.com. So they can go there, and they're all the interviews are there to watch. So there are a number of places they can find them.
Great, because I know there's really good stuff there.
Yeah, there is. Hours of delicious kindness.
Yeah. And what contribution can kindness be to you, your life, that you haven't acknowledged, that maybe you haven't discovered yet, that you're willing to receive? So that's the question and the invitation, I think. So any final parting comments before we do?
I think I would just again like to express my gratitude for all the people I interviewed, and for everyone who watches this series and everyone who shares this series with other people, because your willingness to receive it just enhances and intensifies the kindness that there can be on this planet. And I just ask you in this moment now, just as we finish, and I invite you just to get the energy. What would the world be like if we all chose kindness for ourselves, no matter what?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So there we are.
What the world be like? I say yes to that. Thank you so much, Alun. Thank you for being a brilliant light shining in the world and giving all your gifts, whatever that might look like in your exploration and play of kindness. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. And bye, everybody. See you again.
Bye-bye.